Hi, it's Melissa with the Melmar Group. Welcome back. So I am trying to keep my YouTube channel and my blog on the same topics so that they each cover the same topics. And so I've got to be honest with you, I'm keeping it real, looking real fabulous, I know. It's a Sunday early evening. I've got chicken thawing for dinner. I've got kids playing video games. My husband's watching a movie or something. And I just thought I'd come on here and talk about my meal planning post on my blog. My blog can be found at Homeschool Classes RS, that's RUS.com/rblog, and you can see all of my posts there. So let me just start. I'm going to follow what the blog says so that I keep everything consistent. So at the beginning of the month, I sit down, or the end of the previous month, I sit down and I figure out how many nights for the next month I estimate that we're going to be home. So I go through the calendar and I look, when do we have, that dance recital? When do we have that activity that we're going to? And I write down all of the nights that I estimate that we will be home, that I can cook dinner. Notice the sarcasm with that, but I'm trying. So I look at all the nights, write them down, add them up. Then I know how many meals I have to come up with for the month. The next thing I do is I have a master list of things that I know we have the supplies for that we eat on a regular basis. Spaghetti is one of those. So I have a master list of items that are easy to throw together, that I know we have the supplies for, and I have a running list of those things. The next thing I do is I take inventory of our fridge and our freezer. Is there something in our fridge that I haven't cooked that maybe I could use, soon? That type of thing. Or is there food in the freezer that I have a surplus of that maybe I could make in multiple ways and stretch it out over several weeks, doing different varieties? So I make a list of that. So I've got the number of nights, the master list of what I know that we will typically eat, and then the items that we have in the fridge or freezer. And we also have a food storage room in our house, so that's really helpful too because we stock up, and that's great. So then I get out one of my cookbooks. I love collecting cookbooks. So I get one of those out because I never use them enough. I get one out and I go through it and I look, okay, I have a lot of ground beef. Let's find some ground beef recipes. And I'd prefer if they were in the crock pot. So let's look at the crock pot book this month. And I'll go through and I'll try to find several recipes that interest me, that I can use, that might be new for my family, that I suspect that they would like and that we would eat, and that could eventually go on that master list of things that we eat. So if I find a recipe that I like, I write it down on that piece of paper where I have, the nights that I know I'm needing to cook. I write down what book I found it in, what page, and if there's any ingredients that I wouldn't normally have. For example, I found one for apricot chicken. Okay, I love apricot chicken, just haven't made it for years. I don't have apricot preserves normally in my food storage. So I write that down that I would need apricot preserves because I know I don't have that. Okay. So I do that, and so then I now have a list of things I know we'll eat and things that I would like to try. Then I break the month up week by week. So I'll do, week 1, whatever the date is for the first 5 to 7 days of that week. Now some people like to designate a meal for every day that they're planning for. I can't do that. That's too rigorous for me. So what I do is if I have 5 nights of meals that week that I, should be planning for, then I will write down 5 things. And I will make sure that we don't have chicken 3 times. I'll do something with ground beef, something with pork, something with chicken, something with fish. I'll try to do a variety. And if I know I'm going to make, let's say, spaghetti, I'll cook extra ground beef, and maybe then I'll have that for later in the week, unseasoned, before, I'll have some set aside that's not seasoned. I'll have that later in the week for tacos. Or I'll have the ground beef with sauce. I'll have extra of that, and I can make crock pot lasagna at the end of the week. So there's a little bit, I'm not going to say that we don't ever repeat the same protein in a week, but I try to have a good variety for that week. So I go through and I do that week by week for the month. And then that way I can look, like if I get to the 3rd week and I can't think of something, I can look back and go, oh, we didn't have chicken last week. We had it 2 weeks ago. So maybe we can have this kind of chicken dish that's similar to the one we had before on week 3. So it's really helpful that way. And again, I can't do a meal assigned to a particular night because it would drive me crazy if I didn't do it. So I have on my blog an example of that. I say, for example, earlier this week I had beef taco bake on the menu, but it just didn't sound good the day I was supposed to make it. Instead, I cooked the ground beef and I made sloppy joes. I had the supplies for both on hand, so it wasn't a big deal to make the change. I just try to use the same protein, but do something else with it. And that sloppy joe, I used Pioneer Woman sloppy joe recipe, and that has become a favorite in our house. So that is now on our master list, and that's just from last month. So then each night or every couple nights, I keep the list on my fridge. And I keep the list that shows the nights that I'm supposed to cook, and I keep the master list with the recipes and whatnot. And so what I do is as the week goes on, I write down what we ate. And I'm planning to put all of that into a binder so that eventually I will just have a huge master list of tried and true recipes that we've eaten for years, plus new recipes that we liked that I can use. And then I know I'm using my cookbooks because I'm using recipes from them. And we're getting a good variety, and I don't have to sit and recreate a list every month. So I just make sure that I try to write down every couple days of what did we eat last night, what did we eat the night before, and then I'm filing that all away to put in a master binder that I'll someday organize and have a huge master list with. So sometimes in my fridge, I started something. I'm a huge Dollar Tree shopper, and I started something because we always had leftovers. And they were always getting thrown in the back of the fridge, and then you'd find them, and they were moldy, or nobody wanted to eat them anymore. You wondered if they were still good. So I have a bin from the dollar store marked leftovers that I put in my fridge, and we put our leftovers in there. And when that bin is full, it's like one of those dishwashing pans. When that bin is full, it's leftover night at our house. We had leftover lunch today at our house because of that. And so I may not have enough to feed everyone every little thing that I have in there, but here's how I explained it in my blog. If we have lots of plain pasta in the fridge and some leftover chicken, then I might cook some chicken. I might cook some more chicken or grill something else so people can have their choice of a meat and a pasta. So that's another way that I use up all the leftovers, because when you're cooking every night, you know, you end up with leftovers. And if you just have meals planned every night and you never plan for the leftovers, then that becomes problematic too. So when I make my grocery list for the week, I look on the meal plan and I look to see, okay, I'm making that apricot chicken. I need to buy apricot preserves this week or before it's on the menu to cook so that I have those. So that's really helpful too. I just check the list on my fridge, and I've made that list as I've been making the meal plan. I wrote down things that I didn't think that we would have on hand. So I mentioned at the end of the blog post, there are some keys to meal planning. The biggest is that you need to know what you have on hand. Now, I'm not perfect. I can't tell you exactly how much chicken I have in my freezer, but I know I have it. I can't tell you, that I have a certain type of spaghetti sauce, but I know I have spaghetti sauce on hand. There are some things I always have on hand, and it's really important to know those things. And when you go grocery shopping, make sure you check your supply. Check your food storage, check your freezer, check your fridge, see what you need and don't need. So, anyways, that's my blog post. I hope that you'll check it out. I would love to hear how you plan for your family, what you do, what tips you have. If you just leave comments down below, I would love that. I'd love to talk to you. I'd love if you would subscribe to my channel. That would be great. And I will talk to you again next time. Thanks. Bye.